Welcome everyone to the Joy of NFTs, episode 4. Today we have a really cool episode focused on photography NFTs. Chad Turkelson, he's a photographer, adventurer, and then we also have Jacob LR. He's also a landscape photographer, and then we also have Eric from Defiance Work. He's a collector and very active within the NFT space. How do you go about finding your identity as a photographer?
It's a long road. It's like you're battling back and forth to find like a topic or direction that feels meaningful. There's a lot of pretty pictures out there, and hell, your phone could take a beautiful picture of a sunset. But attaching yourself with a lens and more perspective, everything you shoot is kind of condensed into a story or theme, and then you get to add colors and tones and really make it your own.
NFTs are the first time I've actually had the opportunity to move into more of a full-time photography. So photography was always something that I just did, that I shot what I loved. I really got into landscape photography initially because what gave me peace and what was able to give me kind of direction in my life was finding places and going out into moments where you're stuck in front of a big, massive mountain or just like this quiet forest and just like you feel tiny.
How do you go about setting up your camera setup?
It's funny because I've kind of taken a different direction with like my camera gear and what I use. I used to be like a traditional landscape artist, which we used to just call like tripod uncles. So I would get there, I would shoot my 3 to 5 exposures. I would watch endless tutorials on YouTube about luminosity blending and like blending exposures. I would just track down weather to like the second. I've kind of abandoned that this year, and I started shooting on 35mm and 120 film. So I'm like going a little bit older school, getting it scanned through a lab and putting it on my computer and editing those files. But I'm excited to hear what Chad does. Chad is a fantastic editor and has spent hours in front of me editing one photo. So every artist is a little different.
I think for people who weren't part of like selling art in the traditional art market, like one of the most difficult things has been learning to be the full business behind the photo. Like I love making my art, and I love like I can dive and put everything into that and spend hours on that, and unless I understand the processes of how to get that art in front of the right eyes, like that won't go anywhere. And so kind of like getting educated in NFTs of how to sell your work, how to sell your stuff yourself in front of people, and how to do that in appropriate ways.
This space has a lot of talented people, to be honest. There's just a lot of good art, and like people want to learn that it's going to a good place and going to an artist that it's not going to just disappear the next day. So, if you show up every day and like participate and be kind to others, like that's the building blocks of, being seen in the space, in my opinion.
The community proposed a theme, ocean. So that is what we're going to be focusing on today. What are we both using right now? What software?
Lightroom, and I might pop it into Photoshop at some point a little bit.
Funny enough, my last name is hyphenated, Louis Ruiz, but people just called me Lightroom. So like I have this appreciation for Lightroom now, like no other. Adobe's taken my money since I was like 17, so they can just have it by now. Like I'm stuck on the Adobe system.
Between Adobe Lightroom and Photoshop, what's the fundamental difference between those?
When I use both, what I'll do is I'll do my basic editing here in Lightroom, and then I'll bump over and do any if I need to remove something from a photo or just like clean up some different elements of it.
Photoshop's more for like the heavy lifting and like taking out and like things, like using AI to analyze the environment and to like take out like people or trash. And like that's like I think its greatest tool, where Lightroom is more of like color and tuning and toning, and it kind of just the layout is very easy to get used to.
Guys, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for sharing all your cool stories, your background, and just hear you guys' perspective is always very refreshing. And as well as you, Eric, thank you for jumping on. Thank you guys. It was so much fun speaking with you, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.